Snark Squad. Hello, babes.
Hello to you.
You queens, you kings. And, babes, if you're not a monarchy fan, hello to you as well.
We are highly inclusive here.
We are. But also, it is all about the faux regal energy tonight.
It is Thursday evening, the drinks are flowing, and, well, hello.
Vodka lemonade.
Exactly. And babes, we are here for some serious faux regal drama.
We really are. And, like, for anyone watching the video version, yes, we are wearing our absolute best pantsuits.
Right, in honor of the one, the only Mark Francis.
These are literally the most Mark Francis things we own. Like, I am fully, utterly, and unapologetically leaning into this bit.
You really are giving full aristocrat right now.
Snark Squad, you have to understand the level of tailoring happening on my body at this exact moment. Look at this lapel. Look at the structured shoulder pad.
It's very severe, in the best way.
It is giving vintage YSL.
Mm-hmm.
It is giving, like, 1980s corporate raider who also just casually vacations in Gstaad. I am channeling pure, unadulterated, I will judge your visible panty line from across a historic manicured garden energy. Like, I feel incredibly expensive right now.
As you should. I mean, I am ironically committed to the bit, but I do have to admit, the structure really does something to your psyche.
It changes your posture.
It does. The tailoring is giving, like, off-duty aristocrat who just casually acquired a small European country over breakfast. But let's be entirely transparent with the Snark Squad right now.
So now what?
I bought this blazer at a sample sale, like, 3 years ago, and it still has a tiny coffee stain on the left cuff.
I didn't even notice. You hit it so well.
Thank you. But still, if we are going to talk about Longleat and the absolute unhinged ridiculousness of faux aristocratic reality TV today, you just have to dress the part.
You really do.
You have to embody the snobbery from the outside in, you know. It's a psychological exercise. If you wear the structured blazer, you inherently feel more equipped to deliver, like, devastating whisper quiet insults.
Yes. My posture is completely different. I feel so powerful. But wait, we absolutely must address the hair.
We have to.
Because yes, Snark Squad, we are also wearing shower caps.
It is the ultimate juxtaposition, honestly.
Because, babes, the Cardi B hair masks, they are back.
And last time we did this, our hair. Soft. Unbelievably soft.
Unbelievably soft. The Snark Squad needs the full visual right now. Picture this. We are sitting here dripping in faux regal, sharply tailored, highly elevated pantsuits.
Looking like we are about to attend a hostile takeover board meeting at Vogue.
Exactly. And we have literal crinkly plastic shower caps on our heads.
It's a lot.
And underneath these caps, a gooey, heavy, extremely questionable mixture of avocado, mayonnaise, oil, and whatever else is in this DIY mask, just like marinating on our scalps.
It is the absolute definition of chaos. It's highbrow and lowbrow colliding in the most visually violent way possible.
Oh my God, right.
I mean, the aesthetic whiplash of a crisp, stark white, structured blazer paired with a polka dot, crinkly plastic shower cap stolen from a mid-tier hotel is honestly high art.
Put us in a museum.
It speaks to the duality of man. But the results are a matter of scientific record at this point. The shine is unparalleled.
The bounce is cinematic, babes.
It really is. It is a necessary evil, even if I feel like the mayonnaise slowly dripping behind my left ear right now.
Oh, gross. I am aggressively sweating under this plastic greenhouse on my head, but it's fine. We suffer for beauty, and we suffer for the Snark Squad.
We do.
We do have a drink upgrade tonight, though, because, babes, we added mango to the vodka lemonade.
A legendary pivot, truly.
And it is amazingly good. I am entirely obsessed. It is giving me summer in Saint-Tropez.
Totally.
It's giving me lounging by an infinity pool in a caftan where someone else, like someone employed strictly for this purpose, is fanning me with a giant palm frond.
Bruh.
I take one sip and I instantly forget that I have mayonnaise in my hair.
Honestly, it's a top-tier upgrade. If I'm ranking our historical cocktail creations, this is easily in the top 3, maybe even challenging for the #1 spot.
Wow, really? Number 1.
I mean, think about the sociology of a good cocktail, right? It's all about balance. The sharp, abrasive acidity of the lemonade cuts right through the heavy, tropical sweetness of the mango perfectly.
So refreshing.
And the vodka just quietly sneaks up on you in the background. It is dangerously smooth. Like, it genuinely makes me feel like I could tolerate a 2-hour carriage ride with Margo.
Oh. Let's not go that far.
Almost. I said almost. Let's not get entirely delusional here.
Okay, well, speaking of delusion, life update before we dive into the absolute madness of this week's episode. Because someone sitting across from me has decided they want a new apartment.
It is time, babes. I need something more modern, chic, elevated.
Here we go.
The current space has served its purpose, but I am ready for the next era of architectural superiority.
Okay, let's be perfectly honest with the squad right now.
Yeah.
You just want your bestie in the same building.
I mean,
Because, babes, that would be an absolute riot.
okay, yes, the absolute dream scenario is to have my own highly curated, perfectly minimalist, aesthetically ruthless, soundproofed sanctuary.
Soundproofed is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
That just happens to be a ridiculously short elevator right away from your particular brand of chaos. It's about geographic convenience without sacrificing my psychological peace.
Convenience. Bestie, it would be the end of our collective sanity. Do you understand the sheer lack of boundaries we would have?
I am bracing myself.
I would literally be walking into your perfectly minimalist sanctuary at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, wearing my fuzzy pajamas, demanding you make me a mango vodka lemonade while you were in the middle of a very serious, high-stakes Zoom call.
See, this is why I need a deadbolt.
We would be watching reality TV through the drywall. We would be texting each other from one floor apart. The noise complaints alone would get us evicted in a month.
That is exactly why I specified soundproofed. But think of the logistical advantages. We could share appliances.
Okay.
We could have emergency reality TV debriefs in the hallway in our slippers. If one of us runs out of ice, the crisis is averted in 30 seconds.
I do love rapid ice access.
Right. But obviously there are very strict non-negotiables for this potential new place. I am not moving just to move.
Okay, what do we actually need in an apartment? Give me the list.
Space is the primary non-negotiable. I cannot and will not live in a chic little shoebox where the kitchen island is simultaneously my desk, my dining table, and my laundry folding station.
Who are past the studio apartment phase of life?
Exactly. Light. I need floor-to-ceiling windows. Natural light is crucial, primarily because if I'm going to judge people walking on the street from above, I need a perfectly clear, unobstructed view.
Obviously, you need to see the outfits.
Location has to be central but insulated from the noise of the unwashed masses. And amenities. I need a doorman.
A doorman is so chic.
Specifically, a doorman who instinctively knows my coffee order and has the emotional intelligence to completely ignore me when I clearly don't want to make small talk.
A doorman who understands the delicate art of the silent nod is an absolute must. But the struggle, babes, finding a good realtor. Because it's not easy. It is a minefield.
It really is.
Every single realtor I've talked to recently shows me places that look like they were aggressively decorated by a tired flip show host from 2012.
Oh, the gray floors.
The gray laminate flooring, the sliding barn doors in a high-rise. I will literally scream. I cannot look at another kitchen with subway tile and gray cabinets.
It is a waking nightmare. They promise you a chic, modern, urban oasis, right?
Yeah.
And then they walk you into a converted utility closet with a mini fridge and a single window facing a brick wall.
Always a brick wall.
My expectations are incredibly simple. I want absolute architectural perfection, and I do not want to compromise on a single detail.
Well, I have a friend who is a realtor, and they're fully willing to connect you.
See, this is exactly where it gets incredibly dangerous.
Why?
Mixing friendship and business. Especially real estate business. It is a sociological recipe for disaster. Think about the power dynamics.
Okay, fair.
What if they walk me into a tragic, horribly flipped apartment with gray laminate flooring, and I have to physically insult the space? I will hurt their feelings.
You definitely will.
I am far too blunt when it comes to crown molding and floor plans. I need a completely anonymous stranger, like a professional whose soul I can crush with my critiques, without feeling an ounce of personal guilt.
I knew you would say that. The skepticism is so real, but honestly, it's warranted. You would absolutely critique the slope of the ceiling right to their face. You would ask them why they hate natural light, and I would have to do intense emotional damage control for the next 5 years at every dinner party.
It's true. It's better to keep the transaction cold and impersonal. Which brings us to a harsh reality check.
Okay.
Babes, this future apartment.
Yeah.
It is not going to look like Mark Francis's flat. It's not going to look like Margo's place. We have to ground ourselves in reality here.
I am spiraling. Let me live in my delusion. I know it's not going to be a sprawling London flat with centuries-old European antiques, hand-painted silk wallpaper, and a butler named Jeeves who irons the morning newspaper. But a girl can dream.
Delusion is a powerful drug.
It is. Which brings me to the ultimate big question for the Snark Squad and for you. Apartment or row house?
Oh, row house is deeply tempting.
Right.
The aesthetic argument is undeniable. The exposed brick, the little historic steps leading up to a heavy lacquered front door, the illusion of actually owning a permanent slice of the city. But practically speaking.
What about practically speaking?
The stairs alone, the endless maintenance, the terrifying potential for the roof to just decide to cave in on a random Tuesday and there's no building superintendent to call. An apartment has building management, an apartment has infrastructure.
Oh, but the sheer romance of a row house. Imagine the dramatic reality TV exits you could make. Storming out of your own front door, right onto the street, hailing a cab in a trench coat.
You've really thought this through.
Having a little hidden back patio where we can drink mango vodka lemonades and gossip over the fence like wealthy Victorian widows. I am dreaming big. I want the row house. I want the stoop.
Of course you do.
But fine, you want the chic, sterile apartment in the sky. Either way, speaking of absolutely unbelievable, unattainable real estate flexes, we need to transition. Because absolutely nothing we ever own, rent, or look at will ever compare to what we witnessed on our screens this week.
You mean Lady Emma Thynn's casual, understated little starter home?
I am still hyperventilating. Like, I haven't taken a full breath since the episode ended. We have to talk about this trip. We have to talk about Longleat, the packing, the safari, the utter mind-bending, faux regal madness of it all.
It was a lot to process.
And I am dying to unpack every single frame of this because my jaw was on the floor for 45 minutes straight.
Let's just set the logistical and geographical stage for the Snark Squad because we really need to comprehend the scale of this wealth. Longleat is located 169 kilometers west of London in Wiltshire.
Out in the country.
Right. This is not just a big house in the country. It is a compound. It is a self-sustaining aristocratic ecosystem. It's a 16th century Elizabethan stately home, and there is a literal, fully functioning safari park attached to it.
A safari.
Oh.
A literal African safari park in the middle of the rainy English countryside. They are driving up to the house in their Sprinter vans, complaining about each other, and suddenly there are gorillas. 4 actual gorillas.
And hippos.
Hippos, sea lions, a red panda named Lionel. I'm actively sobbing over Lionel, by the way. I need a red panda in my life immediately.
I don't think a red panda works in an apartment or a row house, babes.
Don't ruin my dreams. And they are doing groundbreaking IVF projects for southern white rhinos to save lost species. Like, this isn't just eccentric rich people having a tiger in a cage. This is a full-blown, scientifically rigorous conservation project running out of their literal backyard.
It is the ultimate untouchable wealth flex. But there is a fascinating socioeconomic reality beneath it, actually. As someone brilliantly pointed out on the timeline, massive shout out to the user FoxDogTurtleCat, these grand historic English houses are absolute financial black holes.
Wait, really?
Yes, they are money pits. The roof repairs alone cost millions, and the generational death taxes imposed by the British government are astronomical. Many aristocratic families lose their estates because they literally cannot afford to inherit them.
Wow, I had no idea.
So what do? They turn them into public attractions, theme parks, and safari reserves to pay for the upkeep. It is a massive commercial business disguised as a private home.
That is wild.
But Lady Emma, the psychological stress of managing this operation must be intense. She is orchestrating an event for 400 high society people. She has to flawlessly curate the experience around the paying public, the endangered animals, and a group of highly volatile, deeply unpredictable reality TV stars.
And she does it looking effortlessly flawless. She never breaks a single sweat. I saw someone else online Toasted Funeral say that they were going to be thinking about the image of Emma wearing her literal priceless wedding tiara, swaddled in a cozy blanket on her bedroom floor, eating snacks and watching Family Guy for the rest of the week.
It's an iconic image.
That image is everything to me. It is the perfect encapsulation of modern aristocracy. She is an actual Marchioness. She lives in a palace with hippos. But at the end of the day, she is sitting on the floor watching cartoons like a normal person. I love her. I'm fiercely protective of her.
The logistics of just getting this volatile group of people from London to the estate was a masterclass in social segregation, honestly.
Oh my God, the buses.
Emma, who is clearly a strategic genius, smartly tasked Mayaka with organizing the departure and the transportation. And what happens? We naturally end up with 2 very distinct, highly polarized Sprinter vans. We have the fun bus and we have the pity party bus.
The fun bus was giving immaculate vibes. You have Mark Francis, Lottie, Micah, and Kimi. They are popping bottles of champagne, they are laughing, the banter is flying, and they are entirely blissfully unbothered by the drama. They're treating it like a holiday.
And then in stark contrast, you have the pity party bus. Margo, Missy, and Martha. It was just a rolling dark storm cloud of resentment and grudges heading west down the M4 motorway.
It looks so depressing in that van.
And this bus ride is crucial, Snark Squad, because this is where the central defining debate of the entire episode really solidifies. It all boils down to the culture clash.
Yes, the culture clash. Mark Francis defends his entire aloof, shady attitude by flat out saying Margo has absolutely no sense of humor. He argues that British people inherently deflect emotions and tension with biting, sarcastic humor.
It's true, it's a cultural defense mechanism.
He says it's their love language. If you were going to dish it out or insert yourself into this society, you have to be able to take it. And what's fascinating is that Lottie and Micah, who are both American, are sitting on the fun bus fully agreeing with him.
Yeah, my Micah even admits it took her years of living in London to finally understand the sarcasm and stop getting her feelings hurt.
Let's break this down, because here is my analytical take on this so-called British humor defense mechanism. We have seen this exact sociological playbook play out on reality TV before.
Where? Anyone who watches Real Housewives of Beverly Hills knows this is the exact word-for-word excuse Lisa Vanderpump used for a decade.
Oh my God, you are so right.
Right. Oh, darling, it's just British humor. You Americans are just too sensitive. You don't understand. It is a brilliant, entirely impenetrable shield. If someone legitimately calls you mean or calls out your bad behavior, you don't apologize. You just gaslight them by telling them they aren't smart enough, quick enough, or culturally sophisticated enough to understand the joke.
Wow.
Mark literally says, and I quote, "If they insult you, come back sharper, smarter." It is an intellectual dominance game. It's a way of maintaining the upper hand without ever showing vulnerability.
I hear that. I totally recognize the LVP playbook, and I know it's a defensive shield, but my emotional heart completely breaks for Margo in that van. You can see it in her eyes. She feels so incredibly isolated.
She brought it on herself, though.
But she is sitting there near tears, saying she's being bullied, saying she feels backed into a corner by this entire group. But then Martha, who is surprisingly becoming the voice of reason, gives her the absolute best, most practical advice.
Martha really tried.
Martha looks at Margo and says, "You can de-escalate this. Just don't react. Give them nothing. Or you can escalate it." And Margo flat out refuses. She rejects the lifeline. She looks dead ahead and says, "It ends with me winning."
Which is precisely why Margo is losing and will continue to lose. You cannot play a high-stakes game of verbal aristocratic chess with someone like Mark Francis Vandelli when your only strategy is just to pout, stamp your feet, and say, "You're being mean to me."
It's not a great strategy.
You will lose every single time. It's like bringing a wet paper towel to a sword fight. She fundamentally misunderstands the social assignment. She thinks tears will garner sympathy, but in this specific social circle, tears just signal weakness.
Okay, so they finally arrive at Longleat after this agonizing bus ride. The grand entrance. Mark literally sprints off the Sprinter van to dramatically hug Emma. It's a full, sweeping, aristocratic embrace. They're speaking French, kissing on both cheeks.
Ballistic, Mark.
And then Kimi, who was always good for a laugh, looks up at this magnificent, historic, billion-dollar architectural masterpiece and yells out, "What a dump!"
And right there, let's pause and analyze that exact moment. That throwaway line by Kimi is the perfect, crystallized encapsulation of the humor that Margo completely fails to grasp.
Totally.
Kimi insults the most beautiful, historically significant home in the country, and what does Emma do? Emma laughs, curtsies, and accepts the joke. It's irony. It's deep self-deprecation mixed with an extreme, undeniable level of privilege.
They both know it's a palace.
Exactly, so calling it a dump is hilarious. If Mark made a similarly ironic joke like that to Margo about her outfit or her apartment, Margo would be hyperventilating and crying in the bushes, calling her lawyer.
The bushes. Which brings us to the accommodations. Because obviously, when you visit an estate this unfathomably big, you don't just get a guest bedroom down the hall. You get an entire cottage.
The cottages are stunning.
There are 7 historic, beautifully appointed cottages scattered across the grounds of the estate. Margo, Lottie, and Micah are assigned to one cottage. Kimi, Martha, and Miss A are in another.
And Mark Francis, the absolute icon, the master of boundary setting. He takes one look at the group dynamics and completely refuses to stay on the grounds with the drama.
He literally leaves.
He isolates himself. He books a room 2.5 miles away at the Bath Arms pub on the edge of the property. It is, without a doubt, the most hilariously posh, aggressively elite boundary ever set on reality television.
I am deeply obsessed with that level of emotional detachment. Like, I love you all dearly, you are wonderful, but I will be sleeping in an entirely different postcode because your negative energy is ruining my aura.
It's brilliant.
I aspire to it. But back in Margo's cottage, the debrief. The sheer, unadulterated delusion. They're unpacking their bags, there is a gorgeous complimentary wine and local cheese spread out everywhere, and Margo is crying. Again,
Of course she is.
she is sobbing while unpacking her designer bags. She claims Mark is completely fake because he compliments her to her face and then insults her behind her back to the rest of the group.
Which is, ironically, the absolute most basic, foundational form of high society politeness.
Is it?
Yes, you kiss them affectionately on the cheek, tell them they look utterly ravishing, and then the second they turn around, you mock their choice of footwear to your closest confidant. Lottie tries desperately to explain this sociology to Margo.
Lottie really tried to get through to her.
Lottie says, Margo, he doesn't mean it deeply. It's just words. Don't take it so seriously. And Margo just hits a brick wall of stubbornness. She actually accuses Lottie of going to the dark side just for explaining the cultural norms.
Margo literally looks around this stunning, historically significant cottage and says, "Nobody is on my side. I'm entirely alone. Bestie, you are in a luxury historic cottage on a private safari estate with free vintage wine and cheese.
The lack of perspective is staggering.
Stop crying about a man who doesn't like your boots. Wipe your tears and go look at a hippo."
But all of this tension is just the appetizer for what happens next. The absolute wildest, most sociologically fascinating moment of the episode. We have to talk about the orangery.
Oh my God.
We have to talk about the sandwich scandal.
I was screaming at my television, literally standing up in my living room screaming. So, Snark Squad, picture this. They're all gathering for an elegant afternoon tea in the orangery, which is a stunning, glass-enclosed, light-filled conservatory.
It's beautiful.
Emma is busy coordinating with the staff. The guests haven't actually been officially seated yet. They're just mingling, having polite pre-tea champagne. And Margo, who I guess was feeling a little peckish after crying so much, just casually walks over to the beautifully curated, untouched, unserved high tea spread.
I can't even think about it.
She looks at it, grabs 3 entire platters of sandwiches.
Tatler.
We're talking the classic coronation chicken, the cucumber, the freshly baked scones, and just physically carries them away to her own little table.
It is an etiquette breach of catastrophic, almost apocalyptic proportions. It is wild. Let's really analyze the gravity of this. High tea in an English stately home is highly regimented. You do not touch the food until the hostess has formally invited you to sit, and the staff begins the service.
Micah looked like she was going to die.
My Ika, who literally teaches high society etiquette and deportment for a living, looked like she was going to have a medical emergency. You could visually see her soul leave her body, her eyes dilated. And Emma's face. The sheer shock. Emma, the consummate hostess, says in her confessional, "I might not say it out loud, but you'll certainly know what I'm thinking."
It was so deeply uncomfortable to watch. I had secondhand embarrassment sweating through my shirt. Was she genuinely just that hungry? Or was it a calculated power move?
It had to be a power move, right? Or she is just that oblivious.
Was she acting entitled because she feels like a star on a TV show? Or was she just raised in a barn and genuinely doesn't know you don't loot a buffet before it opens? I could not believe my eyes. And honestly, massive shout out to Mike Ika in this scene.
Mike Ika is really growing on me.
The timeline is finally coming around on Mike Ika. Initially, when the season started, people really wanted to hate her. Someone online posted that they actively hate her deep commitment to massive button earrings and tight ponytails, but then they immediately feel guilty about it because she's actually such a gem.
She is.
Her frantic, anxious energy trying to keep everyone polite is so endearing. She is trying so incredibly hard to follow the aristocratic rules, and Margo is just over in the corner pillaging the coronation chicken like a pirate.
It was pure, unfiltered American entitlement crashing into British decorum. You simply do not dismantle a visually curated, multi-tiered, high tea spread before the hostess has officially commenced the event. It's not a Golden Corral buffet, Margo.
Exactly.
But it somehow gets infinitely worse. Because after the tea, they eventually move the party outdoors to the manicured lawns, and the tension, which has been building since the bus ride, just violently snaps.
The garden party. Oh my God. Snark Squad, brace yourselves. The VPLs.
Yes, the infamous visible panty line. Mark Francis is standing on the grass with Lottie and Missy sipping a drink, observing the crowd, and he looks over at Margo. He simply cannot help himself. It's in his DNA to critique.
He has to.
He points out to the girls that Margo has chosen to wear a sheer, completely transparent, see-through dress to a daytime country tea party. He looks at her and says, with utter disdain, that there is more underwear than dress visible to the public.
And he doesn't stop there. He adds that with all the dramatic feathers on the hem, she looks like she's wearing 150 dead pigeons. I mean, the ostrich feathers were certainly a profound choice for walking on grass.
But here is where the reality TV mess really gets manufactured, and we have to talk about the mechanics of production here. Let's look at Miss A. Miss A hears this catty, private insult, and what does she do? Does she laugh and let it go? No.
No, she does not.
She immediately turns around and speed walks, practically jogs across the pristine lawn, directly to Margo to repeat the insult, word for word.
Miss A is the absolute worst messenger in the history of reality television. Why on earth would you do that? Is she a secret producer plant? Is she receiving a bonus check for instigating? Or does she just absolutely deeply live for the mess?
She lives for the mess.
She completely framed it as friendship, too. She ran over like, "Oh my God, babes, I am so sorry, but I just have to tell you what he just said about you because I'm a good friend." No, you don't. You are not a good friend. You could have just kept drinking your champagne and looked at the sky.
It's a masterclass in covert reality TV producing. It's a classic sociological tactic called triangulation. Miss A knew precisely what delivering that piece of information would do. It's the equivalent of throwing a lit match into a bone-dry, highly flammable forest.
She knew.
She removed herself from the conflict but guaranteed the explosion. And Margo, because she lacks strategic foresight, takes the bait immediately. She doesn't question Miss A's motives, she just reacts. But her defense? I genuinely do not even have the words to describe the absurdity of her defense.
I have the words. I have all the words. Margo looks Miss A dead in the eye, fully serious, not a hint of irony, and delivers the most iconic, utterly clueless retort of the entire season. She defends her sheer dress by saying, "It's Elia. He's a very important designer if you haven't seen Clueless."
I spiraled. When she said that, I completely physically spiraled.
It's so good.
The sheer, staggering lack of self-awareness. To quote a 1995 teen comedy movie starring Alicia Silverstone, in order to justify wearing a completely sheer dress where your literal thong is fully visible to the naked eye at a historic 16th century English estate garden party, it is staggering. It defies logic.
But it's Elia.
It doesn't matter if the dress was hand-stitched by Azzedine Elia himself and blessed by the Pope. If we can clearly see your underwear while we are drinking Earl Grey tea and discussing rhino conservation, it is an objective faux pas. A designer label does not magically make lingerie appropriate for daytime aristocratic events.
And as a viewer who lives for the drama, I love that she said it. I really do, because it is incredible top-tier television. But my God, babes, read the room. Margo genuinely truly thinks that dropping a luxury label protects her from any and all aesthetic criticism.
Which leads directly to the absolute climax of the episode, the breaking of the fourth wall.
Yes. Okay, so Martha, bless her empathetic, conflict-avoidant heart, tries one last time to force peace. She walks over to Mark Francis and pleads with him. She says, "Please just go talk to her, just squash it so we can all enjoy the afternoon."
And Mark flatly, coldly refuses. He sets the ultimate boundary. He looks at Martha and says, "She'll get over it, and if she doesn't, I don't care. Not my problem."
And Margo can hear him, because she has decided that the best way to handle this is by shouting across a serene, perfectly manicured Longleat garden. Margo cups her hands and yells across the grass, "Come here, Mark. What are you scared of?"
The sheer audacity to yell across the lawn at Longleat. It is the antithesis of the environment. Mark looks physically repulsed by the decibel level. He literally shudders. He calls the shouting vulgar.
He was disgusted.
He states, as if quoting a sacred text, there is no arguing at Longleat, and then he does it. The absolute ultimate reality TV power move. A move reserved only for the elite tier of divas. He looks dead, straight down the barrel of the camera lens, looks at the field producers and says, "Can someone demic me, please?"
And he flees. He doesn't wait for permission. He physically walks off the set, turns his back on the entire cast, and flees to his pub 2.5 miles down the road. Because he utterly refuses to lower his vibration and participate in a screaming match on the grass. It is so dramatic. I was sitting on my couch, clutching my invisible pearls, breathless.
But the sociology of reality TV dictates that nature abhors a vacuum. The very second Mark leaves the stage, the energy has to go somewhere. The tension needs a release valve. And that is when Kimi activates. Kimi Murdoch steps up to the plate to deliver the final blow.
Kimi completely loses it. She goes from 0 to 100 in a millisecond. She marches over and starts aggressively screaming at Margo. She blames Margo entirely for forcing Mark out of the party and ruining the vibe.
She went in.
She points her finger and yells, "You're a crybaby bitch." And then she drops the absolute nuclear bomb. She yells, "F off, Margo." And as she sharply turns around and storms off, the real, true tragedy of the episode happens.
The defining image. She spills the champagne.
She spills the champagne. Snark Squad, Kimi's the fun one. Kimi's the one who brought a literal bag of booze on the bus. Kimi wasting premium alcohol is how you know the situation has escalated beyond repair.
Yeah.
I was actively mourning that wasted drink.
It splashed right out of the crystal flute in a perfect arc as she stomped aggressively across the grass. Pure, unadulterated, cinematic chaos.
It was an incredible, flawless sequence of events. The escalation was perfectly paced. We went from a debate over a sheer Elia dress to a stunning fourth wall break to a public screaming match culminating in a violently spilled drink. It is high cinema.
Which transitions us perfectly into our segment analysis. Let's really break down the archetypes here. First question for the squad and for you. Most regal energy. Who actually gave full aristocrat?
Okay, I am going first on this because my feelings are very strong and deeply emotional. It has to be Lady Emma Thynn. There is no other acceptable answer.
Yeah.
She is the literal physical embodiment of regal.
She's very poised.
She lives in a sprawling safari palace. She has her actual diamond wedding tiara sitting in a lit museum case in her hallway like it's a casual piece of decor. She's actively managing 400 demanding guests, monitoring endangered animals, and wrangling a cast of absolute reality TV lunatics.
And through all of this, through the screaming across the lawn, through Margo wearing sheer lingerie to tea, through the brazen theft of the coronation chicken sandwiches, Emma did not let a single solitary bubble in her champagne pop.
That is true.
She just stood there on the grass, smiling this perfect, serene smile, observing the madness, completely and utterly above it all. That is what true regal energy is. It is unwavering grace under absolute chaotic fire.
I hear your impassioned argument, and I agree that Emma is undeniably poised. She is the picture of grace. But from a purely analytical power dynamics perspective, I am awarding most regal energy to Mark Francis.
Really? The grown man who literally ran away from a conversation. Exactly because he ran away. Think about the power in that move. True, unfiltered aristocratic energy is looking at a messy, emotional situation, deciding instantaneously that it is entirely beneath your social standing, labeling it vulgar, and demanding the production staff remove your microphone so you can retreat to a quiet pub.
I mean, it was a power move.
Fleeing because someone dares to raise their voice at you across a lawn is the most hilariously posh, impenetrable boundary ever set. He didn't engage in the muck, he didn't yell back, he completely refused to lower his volume or compromise his standards. He simply opted out of the peasant behavior. He removed his presence, which is the ultimate punishment. That is raw social power.
Okay, fine. The "demic me" command to the camera crew was undeniably iconic. I will give you that. But I still say Emma holds the ultimate crown for not flinching. Now let's pivot to the opposite end of the spectrum. Biggest social climber. Who is trying the hardest in this group? Let's call it out.
We have to call it out. The dynamic is fascinating. Is it Margo or is it Lottie?
It is Margo. I'm sorry, I empathize with her tears, but wearing a fully sheer Elia dress to a daytime country tea, that is not about fashion. That is a calculated move to ensure every single camera lens is pointed directly at you.
It did work.
And then forcing a loud confrontation across the lawn instead of having a private conversation. She knows exactly what she's doing. She understands reality TV mechanics. She knows that if she just sits quietly in the corner, behaves, and eats her stolen chicken sandwiches, she doesn't have a storyline for the episode. She is aggressively pushing this feud with Mark Francis because it keeps her relevant and central to the main plot. She is trying so incredibly hard to play the victim and the main star at the exact same time, and it's exhausting to watch.
See, I look at the social chessboard very differently. Margo is desperate for attention. Yes, that's obvious. But Lottie.
Yeah.
Lottie is the ultimate textbook social climber in this scenario. Look at the rapid shift in her allegiances. Margo is supposed to be her close American friend. They're supposed to be a united front. But the very second Lottie gets a seat on that fun bus with Mark Francis, Kimi, and the cool, rich, established British crowd, she completely, ruthlessly abandons Margo's side.
Oh, she definitely did.
She starts actively defending Mark's mean jokes. She tells Margo to her face that she is taking things too seriously. Lottie is bending over backward, doing Olympic-level mental gymnastics to stay in the good graces of the people with the real social power and the real elite invites. She threw her vulnerable American friend directly under the Sprinter van tires just to secure her spot at the cool kids table. It was Machiavellian.
Oh, that is shady. That is so dark and so shady, but you are absolutely not wrong. Lottie definitely felt the wind changing direction and immediately adjusted her sails. She saw who had the power and aligned herself. Okay, next debate, messiest moment. What specific moment had you genuinely, physically gasping?
You go first.
For me, the emotional, dramatic peak of the entire episode was Kimi. Kimi finally snapping. Because as we said, Kimi is usually the fun, lighthearted one. She is the one bringing the booze bag and laughing.
True. Yeah.
So seeing her totally lose her temper, drop the aggressive crybaby bitch line, scream F off at the top of her lungs, and aggressively waste that beautiful champagne in the middle of a historic, peaceful English garden.
Yeah.
I literally gasped out loud. It was so raw and visceral, it completely shattered that faux polite aristocratic veneer they had all been trying to maintain.
It was explosive, I'll give you that. It was a great television. But for me, the true messiest moment was entirely quiet. It was analytical. It was under the radar. It was Misset acting as the ultimate, covert, undercover villain.
The bone collector.
Let's review the tape. Mark makes a private, catty, throwaway comment about Margot's VPL to two people. Misset takes that volatile piece of information, repackages it as genuine friendship concern, and hand-delivers it directly to Margo specifically to ignite the bomb. It is an absolute masterclass in reality TV producing.
It really was.
She didn't yell. She didn't spill a single drop of her drink. She just whispered a tiny secret and then stepped back to watch the whole historic garden burn to the ground. It was lethal. It was surgical.
She is a bone collector.
No.
Misset is walking around the estate, collecting the bones and passing them out to cause maximum damage.
Yeah.
It was terrifyingly good strategy. Okay, final question for the squad and for us. Would you survive this circle? Be entirely honest with yourself. Could you hang in this group, or would you be immediately exiled?
I will say it with absolute unwavering confidence. I would thrive.
You would?
I would dominate. I would match Mark Francis's shade, comment for comment, insult for insult. I fundamentally understand that in these specific hyper-elite circles, insults are just a twisted intellectual love language. It's a test of wit.
I couldn't do it.
If Mark Francis looks at me and tells me I look like I'm wearing dead pigeons, I am immediately, without missing a beat, firing back about his tragic tailoring, his archaic worldviews, or his inability to maintain eye contact with the middle class. You just have to volley the ball back over the net. I would be sitting on the fun bus, sipping out of the booze bag, absolutely thriving in the toxic sarcasm.
Bestie, I am spiraling and breaking out in hives just thinking about it, because I would absolutely not survive. I would be declared legally dead on arrival.
Yucky soft.
I would absolutely end up locking myself in the prairie cottage, crying on the vintage rug, clutching a stolen platter of coronation chicken, completely and utterly inconsolable. The British sarcasm would fundamentally destroy my feelings.
I know it would.
If Mark Francis looked at me, sighed, and insulted my beautifully tailored pantsuit, I wouldn't have a sharp, witty comeback prepared. I would just stammer, hyperventilate, and run away. High society humor is absolutely brutal. It's a verbal blood sport, and I am a soft, highly emotional, easy target. I would be formally exiled by the estate staff by day 2.
It's true, you would crumble.
Right.
And I would cheerfully wave to you from the orangery while eating a fresh scone.
You would. You would absolutely abandon me to the dark side. You would leave me weeping in the cottage. Which actually brings us right back to our apartment debate from earlier. I guess we can truly never live in the same building, because you would ruthlessly critique my fuzzy loungewear in the hallway, and I would end up crying in my kitchen.
It's called building character, babes. Iron sharpens iron.
Faux royalty.
Apartment dreams.
Hair mask chaos.
Vodka mango vibes.
Snark Squad, we absolutely need to hear from you in the comments and the DMs. Apartment or row house?
What's your absolute non-negotiable in a new home?
Can Biggs.
Could you genuinely survive the social circle, or would you be on the pity party bus?
Rate.
Review.
Subscribe.
Send your submissions and hot takes.
Send this episode to your absolute fanciest, most delusional friend.
Thank you to the Snark Squad for always riding with us.
Stay shady.
Stay iconic.
And we'll see you on the Snark side. But seriously, is it scientifically possible to have your visible panty line haunt you from beyond the grave, asking for a deeply traumatized friend in a sheer Aliyah dress?